Hello, thanks for watching this video. My name's Ron. This channel's called Hours of Endless Fun because mainly it's about watches, but maybe other things that I find fascinating as well. So I hope you enjoy what follows. Right, well, let's get started. Today we're going to try and build something that looks a bit like a Patek Philippe Nautilus. No. I like to put my own little logo on the watches that I build because I'm not trying to build a like a counterfeit watch. It's nowhere near good enough to be a counterfeit watch for starters, but I want it to be pretty obvious at a glance that it's an homage, if you like. So I've sort of got my own little transfers, my own little logos, and the tricky thing here is getting them off and putting them on exactly square. And you've got to really think about how you're sort of positioning. Once the film, which is very sticky, touches the surface of the dial, that's it. You're going with however you've got it, and you need to keep your fingers crossed that you've got it pretty square. This one is pretty square. I think I'm pretty happy with this. It looks okay. I think it's a little crown, the logo with RC underneath it. So a little nod to Rolex there. Right, so next thing is to put the dial onto the movement. And to do that, the first thing we do is just always I just put the hands to midnight. I pull the crown out and move the date wheel so that it's on midnight. And then this dial is specifically designed for an NH35 movement, which is what I'm using. So I don't need to cut off any feet or anything, and it should just click straight on. And yeah, I can see it's clicking on nicely there. So always just twirl it around to test it, make sure if it falls off, you know you haven't fixed it on properly. But this is on pretty well, so that's good. Now, the next thing is to put the hands on. And hands are fairly straightforward, I think. The tricky thing here is to make sure that you get a hand pusher that's a little bit wider than the diameter of the hole in the hand itself. So these hands are NH35 hands, so they're about 1.5 millimeters. So I'm using something like a 1.8 millimeter broad hand pusher, and what I do is I tend to just sort of like gently push it on, and then try and position the hand exactly at 12 o'clock. And then once I'm happy with it, I'll usually put it onto the machine, which presses them, because that way you get a sort of level. That the hand becomes sort of level with the surface of the dial. What you don't want is the hand pointing up or pointing down, because then it's going to foul the next hand that you put on, or touch the dial, or touch the numerals or something. So here's me now. I've put it on pretty much straight, and it's actually not far away. I don't think there's much to do to this, but I'm just going to make absolutely sure and use the machine hand presser to make sure that how I've pressed it is exactly level. And I'm just pressing gently there. That looks okay. There's a nice little feel when you've got it on just exactly right. So now the next thing is to put the minute hand on, and so I'll put it back into the holder and use my little piece of Rodico here to position the minute hand. And what I generally do is I put the hour hand at 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock in this case, so that I can see that it's actually easy to sort of like get it not quite right if you try and put them both at 12. So I've got the minute hand at 12 and the hour hand at 9, and if that's a nice even right angle, then you know you've got it pretty much roughly right. And that looks okay to me. But again, I want to make sure that I use the machine presser to get it exactly level. What we don't want is a bit of slope on it. But now I've done that, and it's time to move on to the second hand. Now the second hand is the tricky bit, and I think you've got to really get the dial at eye level, and you've got to use, well, I have to use quite severe magnification, because there's a tiny little pin that pokes up through the middle of the spindle in the out of the movement that pushes through the center of the dial. I'm trying to give you a view here with a second camera angle. It's not easy though, because this is definitely one of the hardest parts of assembling a watch. Putting the second hand on, a lot of people struggle with this. And really, the absolute key is getting it at eye level, and then looking for this pin. And then when you've got your second hand on the Rodico, it's then a matter of positioning the sort of cap that forms part of the structure of the second hand. You've got to put that cap over this point that comes out through the middle of the spindle, through the middle of the dial. And here's me now trying to position that cap over that little point. You've got to be really, really careful here. It's dead easy to put the cap next to the point and then shove it down to the side and push it and damage it. I've broken a few movements in my time trying to do this. And I'm looking at magnification of something like 20 times here. So my eye is really, really, it's nearly this loop that I'm using is nearly touching the dial, but I've just about got it on there, you can see. And I'm wondering why the second hand is not moving. I'll give it a quick wind and see. No, it's not moving. I'm definitely going to wind it a bit more, perhaps. Oh, it's not moving. Oh, yes, it is. There you go. Oh, for a minute, I thought I might have done exactly what I was describing in the commentary about pushing it down on the side and damaging the side of the spindle. But that's moving nicely. And it's just clearing the minute hand now. So by hand, that's not bad. But I will put it under the machine hand presser just to make absolutely sure. Here we go. This is just push. You've got to be really delicate here. You don't want to push too hard, but you need it on hard enough so that, you know, if you drop the watch or something later on, it doesn't just fall off with a little bit of shock. So it's got to be on firmly enough to stay on for normal everyday wear, everyday use, but not so firm that you push it down and, you know, start bending the second hand and pushing it into the minute hand and what have you. All sorts of disasters flow that way. But this looks okay. Just need to make sure that it's going to move, and I think it's okay. Right. So now I've got to get the stem out and attach the crown to the stem. So I normally just do what you've just seen and put it sort of upside down on a movement holder. It doesn't hurt it. There's a little gap on the movement holder, which means the second hand isn't crushed when you turn it over. So that's there. You can see the second hand's moving. Everything's undamaged. So I can let my breath out now. So now it's a case of putting it inside the case. And you've got to be careful not to allow any sort of dust or specks or bits of Rodico, or even bits of the cloth that you use to clean it, the microfiber cloth. So I normally give it a good blast with air, just to make sure all those sort of like little bits and pieces are out. And then it's a case of putting it over the movement. Here we go, and then turning it upside down, and that's setting in nicely. So just need to press it down a little bit just to make sure it's in, and that's going to work. Yeah, that's good. Right, now we've got to put the stem back in, and this can be tricky. This is the other tricky part. The two tricky parts of assembling a watch are getting the stem length right and putting the second hand on. So I'm just having a look here. You've also got to make sure that on the other side the dial is, the sort of square, so that the 12 is exactly in the middle of the circle of the watch case, And this one isn't quite, so I'm just having to move it. Now I'm putting the crown on properly and having a go and inserting it into the case, seeing how it fits. You've got to be careful not to force the thing in, and I can see that it's just a little bit not in the right position. I just need to push it ever so slightly upwards and get the movement repositioned. You can't really see what I'm doing there, I'm afraid, but it's just moving the movement. There you can see it fractionally round, so that it's a bit more in the centre, and it gives the stem a chance to get in from the side. There's a little gap there that it goes into. Now, what happens is when you put the stem in, it's inevitably too long, and this one I've had a quick measure of how much I need to reduce it by. It's just under 6 millimeters I've got to take off. And what I usually do is it can be quite a delicate operation, so you've got to sort of sneak up on the right distance. But I normally take a felt pen and just mark it. In this case, 5.75 millimeters. So a little bit of black felt pen on the stem, and then it's a matter of cutting off. If you're trying to get it 6 millimeters off, you'll take off about 4 or 5, and then just gradually file away or grind away the last millimeter or two. It can be quite frustrating when you go too far and the stem's no good. So you've got to be cautious and undercook it initially. So I'm just trying to see. I'd like to get better stem cutters. These are quite big and crude. I've tried various sizes. The little ones that you can see exactly where the blade's going to cut, you tend to struggle to actually get through the steel of the stem. So you need something weighty enough to cut through, and just there you go. Now you can still see a little bit of black from the felt tip pen on that stem. So I don't think I've overdone it. This is me just filing away the edges, smoothing it down a little bit. Now I'll put this crown on, and I'm not really built for watchmaking. I'm quite short-sighted and I've got big hands, so I do struggle sometimes with some of these tiny little pieces, and me trying to manipulate them in my great big fingers. You just got a glimpse of the watch I'm wearing there. That's a Bulova Marine Star. It's a very underrated movement. That, according to Teddy Baldessera, it's accurate to 10 seconds a year, he says. So I thought I'd try it, and it is nice. Feels nice. So now I'm just putting the stem in and just trying not to force it too much. And as you can see, I'm just turning the hands, seeing that it all works. There's a little gap. You can just see it. It's turning the hands nicely, but there's a tiny gap between the crown and the case, which it sort of looks okay, but it's not perfect. And ultimately, though, you need there not to be a gap there. Because it just doesn't quite look right, and so I'm going to have to take it out. You've also got to think about water getting in, and if you leave like a millimetre gap, the water will find its way in. I mean, I don't intend to go swimming or anything wearing this thing, but you know, if you're washing your hands or something, you just, for the sake of a little bit of care at this stage, I wouldn't want to ruin the watch, you know. So I've got to take another little bit off, probably about 2 or 3 mils. So again, I'm just marking it with the felt tip pen, so I can not lose sight of where it is I'm trying to get to. And then I'll just kind of get this down in length just a little bit. I'm so close now; it's too small a gap to use the big pliers, so I'm just using the little grinder, just to try and take off that last millimetre or two and get it absolutely perfect. So, and then even once I've ground it down a bit, I've then got to make sure it's still square and it'll go on nicely without any jagged edges. But this one's going on all right. So let's see how this goes. This should be very close. Here we go. Just gently push, a little bit more, and a little bit. Don't push too hard. There you go. That's it. Now I'm just feeling it move the movement. Yep. I think this is going to be about right. Now hopefully I haven't overdone it and made it too short. But it's screwing up against the case very nicely. That will be watertight, I think. So that's good. Now as long as it clicks out and then moves the hands, it should be all right. Let's have a quick look. It's pretty much perfect, but one thing you've got to watch out for is if you just call it a day then and, you know, put the rest of the watch together and say happy days, you could come unstuck a few weeks down the line because you've got to really put a little bit of Loctite glue on the stem so that the crown sets, and when you're turning it, when it's in the watch, you're not just unwinding the crown from the stem. So the glue sort of holds it in place. And it takes about 15-20 minutes to set. It's pretty quick. Oh, here's me dropping it as usual. But you've got to get it on pretty quick, and then wipe the excess glue off as well, because you definitely don't want any glue going inside the movement. That's a disaster, of course. But this should be fine. That's screwed on all the way. Let's just get some of that glue off. Just tap it down with a bit of this paper, this sort of blotting paper. Now, just make sure all the glue's off. It's got to be really clean. Put that away. And then we'll put this back in now. We're nearly finished now. Just gently insert again, not too hard. I've messed things up before at this stage by just being getting a bit impatient and shoving the crown and stem in, and suddenly it's locked and it doesn't work. So this hasn't happened this time though, so this is good. So now I've just got to make sure we don't have any dust inside, and put the Put the back case on, not forgetting to seal the rubber gasket to maximise the chances of it being waterproof. I've got a pressure atmosphere tester to let me know how my watches are going to do inside water, and there's a machine you can use to plonk them in water, and with some preparation beforehand, it doesn't ruin the watch if you go about it the right way. And see, how many atmospheres of pressure the watch will withstand. And to be honest, I'd be happy with 5 atmospheres or more. I'd be more than happy. That means you could take it, you could practically go swimming with it. To be honest, I mean, certainly 10 atmospheres you could. So now I'm just putting a bit of grease on the rubber gasket, and then just have to position the rubber gasket in its little groove on the back of the case, on the case back, and you can see there's a sort of neat little, here we go, neat little band that it goes around. There you go, that's about right. Just to push that over a little bit. Look. There you go. Right. Now we're just about ready to put the case back on. A little bit of dust removal to do first. There you go. Make sure there's no dust going to make its way to the front of the dial and spoil the watch. And now we can put the case back on, and now we're just about finished. It's just a case of screwing this case back on, and then attaching the strap, which is obviously very simple. There we go. These rubber balls are pretty good, inflated and non-inflated. The non-inflated ones are good for getting a grip at the beginning, and the inflated ones give you sort of much more sort of turning power to really seal it up. Looking good. I think it's going to be all right. This is the strap that goes with it. It's a little bit long at this stage. It's very easy to alter this strap. You just sort of cut it to length, really. And here we go. I've put the strap on. No point really showing you doing that. It's very routine. And that's the watch. What do you think? I hope you like it. I think it looks pretty good. It looks a lot like a Nautilus. It's got my little RC logo on there, so no one's going to think I'm trying to pretend it's the real thing, which I wouldn't want to do. But yeah, I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. Right. Well, that's the end. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.